All right, guys, let's have some fun here. So a new book came out, and it details some of the many fights of Donald Trump and Melania Trump in the White House. So let's dive into the specifics. I always find it interesting to see like the inner workings of stuff, because from an outsider, you look at it and you have your theories. Like, yeah, I don't think they like each other very much, or certainly Melania doesn't like Donald. Well, this is verification of that. And thankfully, there's nothing in here that's similar to what we heard about Joe and Jill Biden, where basically Joe was like, me, bro, I lay the pipe, dog. That's what I do. I love sex. Good sex is the key to a good marriage and stuff, bro. I be fucking. I'm throwing back shots like nobody's business. Joe. You should be eating oatmeal and watching reruns of the Brady Bunch. Okay? Or in between reading like Reader's Digest or some old-timey shit. Like, what do you? I don't want to hear about you fucking. Anyway, here we go. A new book about the lives of first ladies details the many occasions in which it was obvious to the public that Melania Trump was angry with her presidential husband. Katie Rogers' book, American Women, The Transformation of the Modern First Lady, from Hillary Clinton to Jill Biden, interviews dozens of sources in the Trump orbit about many disagreements the couple had, from television channels to watch to how a president should respond to horrific events unfolding in the news. According to the book, one debate was Trump's long obsession with the Fox networks. Melania preferred CNN, the author said. That I actually find interesting, because I would have guessed she was definitely a Fox person, because she's very conservative. From some of the policy things she said, she is very conservative. Like her husband, however, she too tracked journalists who were critical of her. People magazine reported in its write-up of the book, calling it a house divided. Rogers said Melania watched CNN just as voraciously as Trump did Fox. It was reported in July 2018 that when Trump boarded Air Force One for an overseas trip, the ex-president saw Melania's television turn to CNN and was so furious, he ordered all TVs to be tuned to Fox in the future. The moment was captured in an exchange of emails between the White House Military Office and the White House Communications Agency, which called it a bit of a stir. In another incident, the couple fought over the decor in the personal residence of the first family. Each family that moves into the White House chooses furniture and decoration to help the political fortress appear more like home. Trump's taste tended to be flashy, outlandish, and gold. Melania preferred a more modern style. Rogers writes that at one point, the president ordered his wife's choices to be replaced with several pieces he liked better. Without so much as control over the decor, Melania still wanted to signal to the public that she was optimistic about her future in Washington, Rogers added. That's when Melania took to Twitter, posting the message, looking forward to the memories we'll make in our new home. The photo darkens the furniture in the room, instead focusing on the Washington Monument and Jefferson memorials visible from the residence. That's interesting. So according to them, they're saying Melania was salty over the fact that Trump overrode her design decisions. And so this was like, sort of a sly shot at that by darkening everything around it and just showing the Washington Monument. They say, Rogers explained that Melania tried to maintain her independence on decor by setting up her own bedroom suite outside of her husband's and decorating it to her standards. The first couple was always rumored to sleep in different rooms, but the book appears to confirm Mrs. Trump had her own space. Wow. So the only room Trump would let her decorate is her own room, and she had her own room, and they slept in different rooms. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but what that says to me is you guys don't like each other. You don't like each other. And if you, they just want to sleep comfortably and it's harder with somebody else in the bed. Let me tell you something, bro. We have, I think it's called a Wyoming king. It's wider than a normal king. The other ones, the California ones, are longer, that the other way. Wyoming kings are wider than a regular king. And that's, you got all the room in the world. You can stretch out as much as you want in that bitch. And so I don't buy it's just for better sleep. No. If you're not sleeping in the same bed as your significant other, as your wife, clearly there's some troubles in paradise. Melania also moved her parents into the room where Michelle Obama's mother previously lived. Other heated debates came when there were national disasters like mass shootings. The book explains Melania did not seem to mind standing apart from her husband. Among the first incidents was the Charlottesville, Virginia Unite the Right rally, where white supremacists killed one woman and injured several others. Speaking from Trump Tower, the ex-president proclaimed there were very fine people on both sides. Melania, on the other hand, quickly discouraged violence, the book recalls. She posted on Twitter, "Our country encourages freedom of speech, but let's communicate without hate in our hearts. No good comes from violence." There was also the NFL protests when black players kneeled during the national anthem in protest. Other branches of athletics quickly joined. Trump was irate, claiming the players were unpatriotic. Melania responded differently. Quote, her tweets were small gestures that amounted to little more than digital ephemera, Rogers said. Still, compared with her husband's bridge burners, Melania's missives established her as a rare figure in the Trump administration who seemed more interested in calming a cultural divide than widening it. There were moments when she stood with her husband, however. When reports of migrant children being kept in squalor and cages came in, she responded by wearing a jacket that read on the back, "I really don't care, do you?" It continued to be one of the most famous moments of hers from her time in the White House, people wrote. Even by Trump standards, Roger called it chaotic. Former Melania Chief of Staff Stephanie Grisham told Rogers she later recalled that Trump summoned the two of them to his office, yelled at them, and then decided that the official explanation for the jacket would be that Melania was speaking directly to the media. Wow. So, a couple things there. She apparently hated how Trump dealt with divisive cultural moments, like a mass shooting or the thing with Colin Kaepernick. She didn't like that he fed into the cultural divide. She wanted him to act more, quote unquote, presidential and try to see both sides and bring people together and talk about uniting the country and, hey, we're all the same at the end of the day, and be like a soother and chief in the midst of a crisis like a mass shooting. He can't do that. He doesn't have it in him. He's not a leader like that. He's very divisive. He's very aggressive. And then the other thing is that I really don't care to you. The fact that he yelled at her over that, okay, here's why that's frustrating me. By the way, that psychotic that she was wearing that in the midst of the kids in cages thing, like psycho stuff. Like she doesn't care about the kids in cages. Jesus, Melania, Jesus, that's dark. But for him to go after her over that, dude, you have a brand new scandal where you say some idiotic shit every other day. And if she's not chewing your ass out over that, why should you chew her ass out for when she has one scandal at, every 6 months or whatever it might be? So he clearly held her to a higher standard than he held himself. For him, it's everything I do is justified. Everything I do makes sense. Anytime there's a scandal, it's everybody else's fault and the media's fault. It's not my fault. I did everything right, as he says. But she gets in trouble once and he throws her under the bus and starts yelling at her. That's wild. That's wild. All right, let's continue here. One of the other rumored battles was over Trump's affairs making it into the news. Namely, it was revealed that before being elected president, Trump paid adult film star Stormy Daniels $130,000 to stay quiet about a relationship. It was reported that the affair happened shortly before she gave birth to their son, Barron. Oh, bro. The furious Mrs. Trump canceled attending an overseas trip when the news came out. Instead, she went to Mar-a-Lago. Grisham, who traveled with her on that jaunt, said the First Lady had wanted to communicate her anger to the president, Rogers recalled. Grisham went on to call the move intentional. Quote, I think she was pissed at Trump and wanted him to be a little humiliated that she took off. I remember that. When the news comes out about Stormy Daniels, Melania was supposed to go on a trip with Trump. She cancels that and goes to Mar-a-Lago by herself. That was her protest against Trump, which, by the way, tells me you never know the inner workings of this relationship, of these sorts of relationships, right? This, A-list celebrity, maybe billionaire dude, super famous, and his wife. I mean, in many of these instances, I'm sure you have these celebrities who are very upfront and honest, and they tell somebody look, hey, we can be together, but I do open relationships. I'm not going to be loyal to you. I'm not going to be faithful to you, etc. There are some relationships, I'm sure, that have that kind of a dynamic to them. And one could have speculated, hey, maybe that's the case with Trump and Melania. But reading this, you get the feeling, no, that was not the agreement. The agreement was what it looks like it is, which is marriage, faithfulness, don't sleep around. And so when that news came out, she was genuinely pissed off. By the way, it's not just, there's also the, what was her name? Stormy Daniels was the one there. There's also the Karen McDougal one. And if I remember correctly, I feel like something happened then, too, when the Karen McDougal story came out where she was pissed. I don't remember. I think Karen McDougal was pre-Melania. Was she? I don't know. But Stormy wasn't. And so she's pissed. She's pissed. She wanted faithfulness. She wanted loyalty from her husband. This wasn't some open marriage arrangement. And this sort of verifies that, right? This was her. By the way, remember the reports not that long ago that were like a year ago that were talking about she wanted to renegotiate the terms of their prenup? What I take away from that is she did not want him to run for president again. She said, motherfucker, if you want me on your arm and you want to run for president again, if you want me maybe back in the White House again, give me more. Give me more. Because she does not like his ass. You guys have seen all the videos, right? Where they go, Trump tries to like hold her hand and she slaps his hand away. There's like compilations that are endless of all the time she's deaded him repeatedly. Well, now you know. Now you know. The reason it looks like it's such a strained relationship is because it is such a strained relationship. And maybe it's not as apparent unless you read the details. But, you know, in a sense, I guess you could say they're old school, that they try to hide that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, you know, no, everything's great. We're going to pretend like everything's great. Clearly it's not. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.